Okay guys, welcome back. So today we're going to touch upon, I think, a topic that people are really curious about, Matty. Part of our club building series where we're going to kind of enter into a bit of a winter project for us. But we're going to start on the fitting front first and talk about shaft tipping and the influence and how that affects performance and what it does to shafts to change their characteristics.
And why do you do it? I think that's why so many people have asked us in their lives, like, should I tip this shaft? Why should I do that? They've heard pros doing it, you know, like, I don't know, Tony Finau tips the shaft this much and Cameron Champ, and they're kind of like, why am I doing that?
Exactly.
A lot of the time I notice people assume it's always for the purposes of stiffening it, but what I thought was really cool was the Ventus Red story that you told me months ago. You said something about how tipping a Ventus Red excessively could actually create like basically a brand new profile.
Yeah, it can completely change the characteristics of that particular shaft. And really what it comes down to, guys, whether you're analysing a shaft by EI curve or by, you know, designated bend profile, the tip, mid, and butt section are all analysed individually. So regardless of which is a soft tip and which is a soft butt, the reality is the higher we get towards the butt section, that's where the stiffness in the shaft is. The outside diameter increases, and that really is what changes the flex of that shaft. The more of that soft section we take away, the more we get into, the more we expose this wider section from here on up. So we take the soft part away, we leave the stiffer part, which is up in this butt section. So, I mean, there was the shaft that we have tipped here. You can see with the Velocore badges.
Compare it to this one here.
Compare it to that one. So, Velocore badge on that one starts, and there's a full 2 inches there. And then the Velocore badge on that one is right up at the shaft. Okay. So we have left a significantly higher portion of the butt end in this particular one. That's making it stiffer, guys. Regardless of whether this was considered a butt stiff, which is not, but if this was even considered a butt soft shaft, that is all relative to other measurements in that butt section of the shaft. So we have effectively made one standard tipping, 1/2 inch, one 2 inch tipping, changed it by 1.5 inches, and we're going to see what that does.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, are you basically making a Ventus, I don't know, purple or something? Like you've kind of created, you've created a different shaft.
Well, like you said earlier, the red is a very butt stiff shaft. Very similar butt stiffness to the black, actually.
Quite interesting.
And one of the reasons, or one of the ways in which you get a shaft to perform in a sort of more exaggerated fashion is to pair it up or match it next to a section that has the opposite sort of profile, if you like, or flex. So if I want something to be really soft, I just need to make it next to a really stiff midsection. Then this section doesn't move, and the head, the 205 grams of mass on the end, it's trying to make something happen. And it's just it's almost like where can it focus on in that part of the shaft? So it's going to be the tip section in this case. It's going to really move that shaft, cause it to deflect downward. We know that's droop. We're going to cause it to have lead deflection. We know that adds dynamic loft. It can cause it to rotate as well if the CG is significantly far back in the head. That can cause the face to close over a little bit more. So in 3 dimensions, that shaft is always influencing that head to move. And that's some of the things we use as club fitters to influence things like face to path relationships, dynamic loft, strike point. You know, this sort of process that we have applied to our club fitting process, this is what it's all about. It's managing the dynamics of the golf club. And here today, we're going to test those.
Yeah, so we've got the standard one, which we'll test. And generally the Ventus Red is, I know this isn't necessarily true, it's marketed as the higher launching, higher flighted version, a little bit softer in the tip for players that want to elevate the ball. So I don't know what's going to happen when I swing it normally, but clearly the tipped version is going to produce different characteristics.
Without a doubt.
Okay. Oh, red tracer too. You beauty. Lovely.
Matty with the bombs.
I like this driver.
Just a Ventus kind of guy.
I am.
Or is it a sim kind of guy?
I think I'm both. Both. Jeez. Rocket launcher.
Just lots and lots to love about that flight. Jeez. So neutral.
Might be an argument to be made that I should be using this. Flights on those are really good.
Nice, eh?
Yeah.
And even the one you turn over like that there, it still has lots of air time. It's not
Definitely.
like a quacker by any means. It's still
No.
got lots of spin on it. It's really nice, dude.
Please go in.
Really nice.
Big hop. Big hop. Nope. Yeah, I couldn't hit those any better.
Beautiful. Perfect. Perfect. That'll be a perfect little example of those. Some of the best drives I've seen you hit.
Pretty much. That moved the strike up the head big time. That might have just been me, but we'll see if it's a pattern. That went at least 10 millimeters high. Yep.
Beauty. Absolute beauty.
Yeah, that's it right there, isn't it?
Now, is it noticeable, the change?
It is a little bit noticeable. I feel close to impact. I personally feel like there is less of that kick going on in the tip section. So basically the head and shaft feel like they stay a little bit more in line through impact. That's what it feels like to me. Especially the first one where I think previous with the untipped one, the head was kind of kicking a little bit up
Yeah.
and striking kind of the middle part of the face. That first one actually kind of struck high on the face, I think just because the shaft was staying a little bit more in its shape.
Let's see a few more. That's a beauty.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Coupled that one together really nicely in the downswing there, Matty. Just
Thanks, buddy.
waited
Yeah, that
for
felt
it.
good.
Beauty.
Yeah, that's the one.
Beauty.
I've definitely hit probably 2 or 3 of what felt like the best drives to me with the tipped version. It's taken me a little bit to adjust to it because they are noticeably, this is noticeably stiffer dynamically now.
Dynamic lie angle. We saw a marginal difference in droop. 0.4 of a degree.
Kind of interesting. That's not nothing though.
It's little marginal points. Strike point basically was an overlay, pretty darn close. So I think when it comes to people thinking that a half inch of tipping, an inch of tipping is going to really kind of fully change like the performance of the shaft.
Good point.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. In
This is
this
the-
case, not a crazy change. I mean, look at those flights.
Really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
little
think-
less spin.
I think if you were to ask me, like, I want you to play Aventus Red, which one would you like to play? I would definitely play the tipped version because I feel that stability there where the other one, despite the results being really good, I
Yeah.
just felt like 1 or 2 of them that shaped a bit right, I could feel the face getting a little shut on me, whereas this one just stayed extremely consistent through impact. The only adjustment is I felt like I struck the occasional shot a bit high in the face with the tipped version, but that's just like an easy adjustment. That's like a T height adjustment and you'd be good to go.
Yeah, and I was watching that early on thinking, is that softer shaft deflecting a little bit more, causing the head to be in lead deflection a little bit more, delivering the lower part to the head a fraction more? Something I do try and use. Again, if the shaft is deflecting more, we get more droop. We will effectively shorten that golf club. We can push the strike more toe side with a shaft that droops a little bit more if we are changing the beam length a little bit. So it's just, it's great to have tools, dynamic influence on the delivery, and albeit in this sense, a tipped Ventus Red and an untipped Ventus Red, they're still I would say holding their characteristics, intended characteristics.
100%. It's not what I expected was to pick up the Ventus tipped and be like, oh, it's a totally different shaft.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel totally different. Just the tip section feels like it's not exactly a rocket science. It just feels not as soft as the other one and a little bit more under control.
Yeah.
But I just think that process brought Ventus Red into more people's wheelhouse. That's what it feels like to me.
And definitely for someone like yourself who struggles occasionally with the odd
I love it.
low spinner, something that you would maybe look at where in the past probably been the opposite
Yes.
bend profile from what you've looked at.
Yes.
Always looking stiffer, always looking towards the stiffest ones to deal with your speed and how much kind of force you place on the shaft.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this would be
Interesting.
100% one I would, we'll keep it in here and test it again. This with Ventus Black and other ones will be good to consider.
One to try.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, that's one for the techies out there. What does shaft tipping do? I think you've got a little glimpse of it there. I think it would be interesting to take opposite profiles, take a stiff tip shaft and not tip it, take one that's tipped soft and tip it a bunch, max out the tip. See, based on where that midsection is, how we can influence those to be different. Maybe that's another test we can do down the road. So there's a few different things we can do. Head weight, how head weight influences the shaft deflection. Again, that's another one for the techies and the fitters who watch the channel as well.
Definitely.
Maybe a little bit, less for the general audience, because it's not something that's openly offered by OEMs. But
fair enough.
guys, I think just knowing what options are out there is more ammunition to use in your own favor if it's going to help you improve your game.
And tipping for you is kind of like icing on the cake, would you say? Like you fit someone to a shaft and
Just
you go,
tightening
you
the
know
screws.
what? Yeah, just a little bit of tipping might do you well. That's what this felt like. I felt like Ventus Red was a shaft I could actually play, but the tipping made it just very playable for me.
Good. Okay. I feel we're always segueing into new mini-series here, and I love that we do that because it stems the flow for new ideas and new thoughts, and obviously we can get your feedback as to whether you like that. Ultimately, that's what matters. So stay tuned for more of these types of videos, and we'll see you again soon.